Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this session titled 3 Questions about the Great Resignation. I'm here today with Sven Elbert, Senior Analyst, HCM and Talent Management at Fosway Group. Welcome, Sven.
Hello, Sarah. How are you? Good morning.
Good morning. And Silverio Petruzzellis, HCM Partner Learning Manager at Talentia Software. Ciao, Silverio.
Ciao, Sarah. Good morning.
Morning. So the big topic today is the Great Resignation. Sven, do you want to tell us about the Great Resignation?
Yeah, of course. So I guess the Great Resignation happened after the COVID-19 pandemic. It started in the US in probably early 2021. Some have also called it the Big Quit. So there's other names. And I guess it came over to Europe then, probably in each country with, I guess, slightly different timing. It was really dependent on, how far the countries were still maybe in lockdown and started to open up, which was a bit different here in Europe, I guess, for each country. And I guess what happened during the Great Resignation was that employees were leaving or resigning their jobs in masses from their previous employers. They were switching jobs. They thought I guess the grass would be greener elsewhere. So yeah, I guess that is what happened. And it was a big exodus, I guess, quite a lot of organizations affected. Obviously, some of the industries also more than others. It really went across, but the industries most affected, I guess, were healthcare, hospitality, education, but also many others saw that phenomenon. And I guess the reasons why people left, I mean, there was a rise in cost of living, it was increasing, and people felt maybe a little bit underpaid, needed a bit more, salary, maybe a bit more income. Also, some had probably noticed during the pandemic that they wanted to do something that was really satisfying them and, give them a sense of purpose and sense in life. So that if they had maybe some longer lasting job dissatisfaction already, they were kind of through the pandemic, through that crisis, kind of encouraged to, to make the best of their lives, I guess. Other reasons, I guess, were, maybe limited opportunities for career advancement, also maybe stress at work, even maybe a hostile environment. So remember how terrible the time. I mean, we don't want to remember all of that, but just I guess everybody knows how it was. And I guess also they wanted to kind of, because many had learned how it was to work from home, they kind of noticed how much benefits that had in terms of less commute, obviously more time with the family, with friends, and still being productive at work, I guess. So this is also something that our research is showing is valid today, that employees really want to continue to work in a flexible hybrid way. And every company obviously is still continuing to dial that up. 60% or so, I think, are still dialing it up. So it is a big thing, probably even today.
Yeah,
yes.
what I think also is that maybe companies are reluctant to accept the fact that this is not a phenomenon strictly dependent on compensation issues. Because most of the companies think about compensation as the big problem for, especially for a number of people that belongs to the millennial or Gen Z, and they think compensation as the lever to attract again these people, while most of the time this Great Resignation phenomenon is strictly dependent on quest for a better job or a better job condition. So this is something that needs to be thought about also today, because it's still relevant for many people, even after the pandemic. What do you think, Sven, about this?
Yeah, I guess, I mean, so I guess technically the Great Resignation that we saw in 2021 is over now, right? So, but I guess we are moving into a almost similar situation in June 2023 now, right? We are still in a crisis. It's a different one. It's an economic shock due to the war in the Ukraine, maybe the changes in the wider geopolitical situation. We have strong inflation rates across Europe, economic pressure for corporates, but also for households. So I guess salary and income is also still, and even a bit more accentuated even now, something that is important for employees. And if I go to the supermarket here in Germany, everything feels like it's doubled almost, right? So it's actually something where, the salaries haven't made that jump as the inflation maybe has. So it is something where employees will again also look to earn more elsewhere potentially, or in the same company. But if they don't get it here where they currently work, then obviously they will look externally. However, currently it's not a great time to switch jobs, right? If you switch job, you are in probation period. That is obviously a risk. You can get terminated. And we don't really know yet how the economic will turn out, when it will start to pick up again. But as soon as that is starting, I guess we will see more employees considering the opportunities. I guess from our research, we also know that about 20% of the organizations are already making compromises on their employer value proposition. So 20% compromise on the competitiveness of their salaries, 22% compromise on their benefits and their perks, 18% are slowing or stopping efforts to improve work-life balance, 16% are slowing or stopping efforts to improve this whole flexible working kind of narrative, and 19% are compromising on, this personal well-being. So exactly those elements that we have seen, which also were a problem during the Great Resignation, which caused employees to switch jobs. Some 20% of organizations are potentially falling into the same trap, again, due to obviously the economic pressures that they're also feeling. So I think there is a risk that this could happen again sometime in, later in 23, maybe in 24, but once the economy is picking back up.
That is why, again, it's still a hot topic for today. And actually, my question would be, what do you think, Silverio and Elbert, companies should do to avoid, repeating history, so falling back and once again, Great Resignation?
Well, yeah. I think if I can say something before entering the topic fully, that companies need to lose this kind of overconfidence of their actual management practice and put this topic at the top of their priorities, because this seems to be what people request the most. So to have a better working environment, also in terms of career opportunities or training opportunities, and the well-being in the sense of an organizational wellness in somehow. So I think this could be the most pressing issue at the moment. And also what I want to ask, also adding a new question to Sven, is how maybe the technological supports can help organization in the spotting maybe the critical parts or the critical points in the workforce, and help them to focus on workforce better than in the past.
Yeah, so I guess there are some learnings from like the first Great Resignation back in 21. I guess 3 things that organizations should do. And to your question, Silverio, I think the first one touches that, is listen, right? Understand what issues your employees have, I guess, and then the second would be mitigate the impact or mitigate that problem for them, help them. And then the third one is obviously make sure that you retain and develop them. So I guess these three things. So, but I mean, if we go through those a bit more systematically, I guess the listening piece is important, right? So the managers are usually at the forefront, and you're right. They have maybe underestimated how fast employees would leave after the COVID pandemic. And potentially this is now happening again. We are seeing, like these 20% of companies, we're seeing a kind of a trend to get people back into the office, to force them back into that kind of situation. So I guess it's really important to, to keep the conversation going in your one-to-ones, in your team meetings as a manager. So the managers play a very pivotal part and have played a very pivotal part during the Great Resignation after the pandemic. So definitely that is something where, the line managers are the first go-to point, but also companies can do maybe a survey, an employee survey that looks at well-being, particularly maybe financial well-being aspects, but also wider well-being aspects. And this can help you probably to segment your workforce a little bit and understand in what kind of pockets of the workforce are certain types of issues or problems. And then I guess the second point, think about or develop programs that help to mitigate these, that address them. The managers need a toolbox really that they can then use in the conversations with the employees that they can offer them. And of course, this can be salary increases, right? But, in a difficult economic time, you also can't, the salary increase can't grow maybe as fast as the inflation can. I guess be smart about it. There are some governments who put out programs to fight inflation, so corporates should use those. There's maybe even some other things, some premiums that you can start to get to offer for your employees. There's maybe even some vouchers for the canteen are some things that corporates have done to help out. So it is little, it's not always the big things, it's sometimes little things, gestures that make you feel better, right? So it's this notion of employee experience that also drives a lot of how closely an employee is connected and linked to their current employer. And it's this mental contract, I guess, that you have to renew. And I guess that is something that organizations also did during the Great Resignation, where a lot of the recruiters were kind of even asked to have these conversations again with existing staff members to say, oh, we really value you. We really want you to continue to work for us. So let's talk a little bit about your future here. And then also the managers were brought into these kind of conversations. So maybe some retention meetings, I guess, is one really important and good instrument to consider doing. Certainly internal mobility programs, making sure that the employees feel that there's visibility about the career opportunities. So in the past, oftentimes it's been all behind locked doors, and like these talent programs have happened behind closed doors. So make those a bit more democratic, a bit more open, so that people can actually see the opportunity within the company and don't have to go to, to look elsewhere. And certainly also, I guess a lot of people are kind of currently thinking about, do I have the right skills for the future, right? What skills do I maybe need in 2 years, in 3 years, in 5 years? So anything that can help them reskill, upskill, and improve their employability will also be something which will definitely help to retain and also to develop them. So I guess create those win-win situations is what I would suggest. Yeah. Does that make sense?
It's about, yes, of course. So it's about listening and retaining through development, and of course embracing technology where possible, as Silverio was mentioning, to take advantage of technology to retain your talents, right?
Yes. I think that in this case, maybe having clear what data is telling us. So collecting information about the the workforce and understand in advance what are the potential risks for quitting, and then act properly on those people that maybe are more present more evidence of this risk. Maybe this could be a focusing approach that is data driven, so to say, with specific analytics on that.
Yeah, I guess technology does play a significant role in this, right? So doing it all in, manual and Excel, that doesn't work. We know from the pandemic that those organizations who were more digitally advanced in HR, they cope much, much, much better than those who were, still a little bit behind the curve. HR historically has been very slow to digitize anyway. The pandemic did actually get many organizations up the curve by quite a bit. So I guess use the tools you have, or kind of see if you can bring in some other ones that can help you for some of those kind of problems that we've discussed, I guess would be my recommendation. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Sven, and thank you very much, Silverio, for this insightful session. And thank you all for following us. And we tell you, see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.